Hi, loves. So, we're going to have a moment, kind of a short moment, to be with what is deep feminine resiliency. Because what I'm very aware of is that if you simplify everything that's happening right now, basically, the truth is that some things are falling away, and in response, in equal measure, other things are rising up. And we are all going through a process of both of those happening simultaneously to one degree or another. Where I am finding my poise and my choice point, where I am choosing to lean in, is behind that which is rising up. I'm aware that this was inevitable. I think most of us, probably all of us, have felt how unsustainable life has become. It just hasn't been working. We knew there was a timer on it. It couldn't go on forever. So here we are. We are in a soul forging. We are in a deep transformation. We are being asked to pause, to return to coherency, and to make different choices. A descent journey is always fraught with hardship. It's always not what we would have chosen, but it always has sacred context, and there always is a resurrection, a force, a power that rises up inside of the stripping away. It's an emergence. What I want to invite you into with me, what I want to lock arms with you and with anyone else who wants to, I want to lock arms and be together, supporting each other with the courage it's going to take to ride the current of the emergence that's going to rise up and create beauty out of all this chaos, out of all this falling away. So that's where I am, and I want to share with you 3 aspects of deep feminine resiliency. I also want to make sure that you know what resources are here for you. So here in my staycation, what's been happening is a lot moving, a lot that wants to move out and offer and support. So I was going to run a spring cleanse anyway, and it's changed. I only do it every few years, but basically what I'm aware of is that it's kind of that it's go time, right? All of the ways in which we have been pushing off those things that we needed to do to actually restore strength and health in our bodies, to actually take that step and tend to our nervous systems, our immune systems, our resiliency, that is officially non-optional. And especially if we want to have any kind of freedom and spaciousness in our lives. So I've transitioned the cleanse to be a longer program, 30 days, a 30-day return to core resiliency. And what it is going to be is a fusion of working with, it's a company I've worked with for 5 years now, Purium, organic superfoods company, but basically we're going to be working with their protocol for nourishing, cleansing, restoring, and reducing inflammation, right? Their whole protocol that I love. We're going to be spreading that out over 30 days in partnership with a self-care kind of inner resiliency program that I'm creating to accompany it, to companion that, so that we're working with both the physical, important body temple, and the emotional, the energetic, the neurological, right? To make sure that resiliency is coming to us and strength is coming to us and being restored inside of us on all levels. So we're coherent, so that we have the courage and the resource we need to face what is in front of us and what is ahead, because we're in it now. We're in transformation times. So there's more information about that in the newsletter and on my website. I would love to have you join me. I'm creating, I mean, obviously you have to get your own Purium supplements. It's easy to do that. I know there's links and things to do that. What I'm creating to accompany it is free. So that's my gift. It's been this constant question of, okay, how can I support? What do I want to support? So what I'm doing is I'm going to take every 3 days, you're going to receive another module, and it's going to be basically a selection of the most powerful tools that I've gathered, and powerful and simple tools I've gathered to regulate the nervous system, meditations, techniques for focus, clarity, and actually moving towards what seem like possibly impossible goals or over insurmountable obstacles. So it's resiliency focused, and it's the culmination of a lot of my own kind of rising up out of annihilations, also working with a tendency towards sometimes extreme anxiety states. So I'm excited to share that with you. And I feel why I'm bringing these two things together is that what we're needing to do in general is moving from a catabolic state to an anabolic state, meaning from stressed, from on the neurological, physical level, stressed, depleted, breaking down essentially, to anabolic, which is healing, building, restoring, resourced, right? And that is going to require for many of us a full shift in actually how we've been doing life for a long time. It's necessary. It'll be great. It's necessary. This is about resiliency, not just in front of what we're facing now, but for the rest of our lives. But so if you want to join me, please look below and see all the information. We're going to be working to restore resiliency and retrain our systems away from the stress response, from depletion, from deprivation, into nourishment, restoration, resource, right? It's a profound shift for me. It is the deep feminine shift, right? It's a movement away from many of the ways we've been conditioned to do life that are counter to what's actually best for us, what's actually nurturing, what actually cares for our entire being, and moving towards the basic underlying state and ways to stay in that state, the state of just simply being resourced, right? Let's move into some actual things, some deep feminine principles of resiliency that I know you can implement right now, right? Because this transformation that we're in as a collective, and then obviously the transformation that is catalyzing inside of each one of us, we're going to be in it for a while. There's no answer, there's no fix it. We're going to be in the unknown, meaning in the creation, in the unfoldment of what's happening for a while, and it's going to be different than what was. So what we need is resiliency, but what we don't want to do in becoming resilient, we do not want to rigidify. We don't want to draw on resources we don't have or tap the resources that we do. Resiliency means being supple, being available, being resourced, right? And making sure that we are nourishing this one here, right? Each of us is at the center of our world. It's our family, it's our work, it's our community, right? What resource we have within us is what we have to share. This is where real generosity comes from. And we're going to need to make that transition, the transition away from kind of empty giving, over giving, all the shoulds, so many things we are being invited to break through, so many habits of being. And where we're moving toward is sustained life that can be sustained, that doesn't have a timer on it, ways of life that give birth to more life and more life, rather than that run us into the ground or that use up resources until they're gone, right? On every level. So I wanted to talk to you about three core aspects of what I would call deep feminine resiliency. And the first is that, yes, we are in a time of having to cleanse our minds, our bodies, of having to let go, of having to release, right? There's a stripping away happening personally and globally. That's part of it, right? That is part of what generates resiliency, because things that no longer serve, habits, conditionings that aren't helpful, need to be cleansed. Toxins need to leave. We need to reclaim our body temple, our mind temple, our heart temple, right? And tend to them. Make sure that nothing's entering these spaces that isn't for the good of them, right? However, and from a deep feminine place, cleansing does not happen through like scrubbing, through depriving, through pulling away comforts. It's not this deprivation process. Too many of us have worked that way in the past. We decide we're going to get rid of all of our toxins, so we go into a crazy cleanse, or we make all these really high demands on ourselves to that interrupt nourishment, right? That basically put us into a state of either starvation or deprivation or stress. And then we're actually more toxified than ever, right? Our bodies can't release what no longer serves them if they don't have the nourishment that they need. So moving into deep feminine resiliency is about turning toward nourishment, saturating your body, your heart, your mind with what nourishes you. Because when you're full, toxins, things that don't belong inside of you, start to naturally fall away. It's coming from the inside out, right? So we're not, as you're being faced with having to let things go, some of which you may have treasured, others of which it was way past time to let them go, right? As you're being faced with what it takes to actually restore your body to optimal health, your immune system to optimal functioning, to really restore physical resiliency, maybe you have to stop eating cookies or stop with caffeine or alcohol, or who knows what it is that's in front of you, what habits, what is going to be, needs to be cleansed and released. Still, we want to do that through nourishment. And if that means it's a gentler, longer process, great. That's also more sustainable. But we're going to cleanse through nourishment. So that the 30-day program I was talking about is very much about that, cleansing the body through saturating in nourishment, right? Cleansing anxiety, overwhelm, stressed states by entraining to a building state, right? So deep feminine resiliency does not work with hardening, rigidifying, depriving in order to transform. It works with nourishing, entraining to the good, right? Sourcing, resourcing, becoming interdependent, drawing on strength, and filling in order to release what no longer serves. That's one aspect. Another aspect is this thing of moving from what's catabolic to anabolic, right? Moving the nervous system, the body, your heart, your thoughts, everything from this actually often far too common and unconsciously held state of the catabolic, of stress. And it breaks systems down. It wears on your heart instead of building it up. It breaks your body down. It breaks the nervous system down, right? It taxes us to be in that state. We often, almost all of us, have to make a conscious choice to move from a catabolic state to an anabolic state. It takes something. It takes going into meditation. It takes working consciously with your anxiety. It takes eating foods, giving yourself true nourishment rather than things that toxify, or ask more of your system, right? So just knowing that no matter what you do, you can do a cleanse, you can make this choice, you can do a meditation, you can enroll in your next spiritual program, whatever you do, if you're doing it in a catabolic state, it will still break you down. Whatever you do, if you're doing it in an anabolic state, it will build you up. It's the state that's actually in many ways much more important than the actual thing that you're doing, right? So even if you go to meditation with this, or spiritual practice with this idea that you got to fix yourself, that there's something wrong, that you're broken from a stress state, you're actually going to break yourself down in the process. You want to be attuning to this movement, this shift from catabolic to anabolic, from breaking down to building up. And that is a fundamental state of being. It has to do with where your nervous system is, right? Where your state of mind, state of heart, and state of health are. So I offer that to you just so that as you're moving into whatever, this is growing time if we say yes to it. If we choose this, we are going to grow. We are going to become more than we have ever been. However, it's going to require choosing. It's going to require some discipline and support. We're going to need to lock arms so that we can help each other. Remember, like, hey, I know this is all what's happening, and I know that this is what you're choosing and this is what you're doing, and all of these things, I want you to be aware of your state, right? This is how we be friends to each other. This is how we support each other so that we become and stay resilient in the face of all the unknown circumstances, all the unknown challenges and opportunities that are here with us and coming. So from catabolic to anabolic. Stop breaking it down, start building it up. That's the rising up that can happen out of the breaking down, right? The final piece that I would say about bringing deep feminine resiliency into what's happening right now is sacred context, right? Bringing sacred context. This that's happening inside of you, in the world, is not happening in isolation from the sacred, from the divine, if you want to call that, from natural law, from divine law, right? So bring sacred context in all the simple ways, in all the more, thorough ways. Just, I invite you to recognize that when the unknown becomes this present and this undeniable, when all that you cannot control becomes this obvious, when death becomes this present in the face of life, in all the many ways that it is, sacred context around that and within that is what is going to bring you into communion and companionship with the eternal that abides, your soul, your God, your goddess, whatever that is. There is an abiding presence, an abiding love, abiding power and intelligence, right? That's underneath all these circumstances. And it's sacred context. It's the knowing that, look, all these things are happening. Our lives might be falling apart. Our lives might be coming together in a higher order. All the things are happening right now for all of us in different ways. Those are the circumstances. They are themselves holy. Within those circumstances is soul forging. So however you bring sacred context to your life, through prayer, through connection to others, in spirit, through spiritual practice, through art, through dance, through connecting to nature, however you do that, please do it. Sacred context is what is going to hold you close to your soul. It's going to hold you close to what abides and what is incorruptible in the face of all these changes and circumstances and all of this, right? And I want you so deeply, from the love that I hold for you and for life, I realize that we don't know what all we're going to face, and I realize that this is not necessarily going to be an easy road, right? But what I do know is that we are not alone, and that we have capacities, we have inner resources that are going to rise up inside of us and around us to help us meet what's in front of us. And that is resiliency. It's not rigidifying and gritting your teeth and getting through it and doing it on your own and figuring it out. No, resiliency is about resourcing into support your deepest inner resources, the resources around you, your people, your friends, all of that which is all of creation, right? That's my wish, that's what I'm leaning in behind. So to whatever extent I can be of service, or this is of service to you, that we are locking arms, we're becoming one heart here. And that is going to bolster and fortify courage in all of us. So I welcome you to surrender to the effortlessness of deep feminine resiliency, the way in which it is a return home. It is simply a return to deep intimacy with the moment, with yourself, to deep care, to deep listening. I welcome you to that. That as you're stripping things away, you are minding that you're doing it through nourishment, that you are supporting yourself. You're doing what it takes, what you can do. Right? That you are moving from catabolic to anabolic, that you're saying, no, I will not live in a way that breaks me down. That's enough. That's over. It's dying with this whole transformation. All the things that are dying, well, one of the things that's going to die is this. I will not live like that anymore. And to move your life to a place where it builds up, right? Where your state of being is restorative because you say so, because you choose so. And then finally, that you take your power to sanctify your life, to bring sacred context, to understand the deeper wisdom, to connect to the deeper resources that are here for you, to your deeper truth, your abiding soul, that you take that and claim that here and now. And walk through this with soul, right? Blessed be, I am standing with you in my way, here in my home, in my place, and I will continue. My impulse is to hold a steady stream and a steady presence, a place of refuge and a place that fortifies. I welcome you to join me for the 30-day resiliency reset. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be an opportunity to be held both in body and soul, and to come out on the other side having really addressed changing your life from a deep feminine way, from deep feminine principles. And then we see what arises from that, right? Anyway, I love you, with you, I believe in you, and I'm here for you. Blessed be.